Welcome to Momentum's virtual training series, where we invite expert facilitators to share their knowledge on topics that advance women in leadership.
So welcome everyone to the Momentum virtual training. We have Jenny. She used to be Jenny Golden, and she has recently gotten married. Congratulations. And her name is now De Faria, and it is Spanish, correct? So it is pronounced more Spanish-like than what I have the capacity to do right now. So
It's
thank
an
you,
idea.
Da Faria. So thank you
It
for
took me a
being.
while to learn it too, don't worry.
Um, we've known Jenny for quite a while here at Momentum. She's very dear to us. We value her intelligence and her expertise. She has walked us through a program that she has developed herself, PRISM, and it is about flourishing, and it's learning how to flourish where you're at. And I want to let Jenny share with you what it is, but we highly value her intelligence and how she has just poured her heart and her soul, her intelligence into this program, and we are excited to share that with all of you today. So Jenny, I am going to not take up any more of your time.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Carla. And you guys are so sweet to my heart. You're actually the first people that I got to pilot all of my knowledge on. So I appreciated you guys for letting me partake and journey with you for as long as we did.
We were honored, very honored, and I'm going to stop screen sharing so you can hop on.
Awesome.
All right.
Fingers crossed. Let's see if we can do this.
Yay!
Okay. Can everybody see my screen? Yes. Okay. Amazing. So I don't need to do much of an introduction after that, but like Darla said, my name is Jenny De Faria. I first just have to say what an incredible privilege it is for me to be here. You all have super busy lives. I totally understand that. And it really, taking time out of your busy schedule to invest in your own vitality, but also to just come and hear what I have to say is, I don't consider it light. I don't take it lightly. I consider it quite an honor. So thanks for letting me journey with you for the next hour. And in order to kind of get us started, you should know ahead of time going into this that this content is very personal for me. So it's not just something I've learned in my career. It's not just science based, you know, things for flourishing. It truly is my individual journey of flourishing. I want to tell you a little bit about what my journey looked like so that you can kind of understand the perspective that I'm coming from. So this here is a picture of my journey. If I could use AI in all of its amazing glory to just put my journey out there. And this is actually what AI came up with for me. I started out as this beautiful, bright sunflower. I'm going to compare myself to sunflower. It's my favorite flower. In a typical American upbringing, right? So I was quite the adventurous child. I was full of wonder. I loved playing outside. I had a really amazing friends and a good sense of community. We also had table sugar in our cereal. Remember those little bowls of table sugar? You just pop sugar on everything that you ate. We had casseroles for dinner. We had weekly gallons of sweet tea my mom would make every Sunday for us. And I was also super active in sports and playing outside and climbing trees, and also our local church when my father was a pastor. So I experienced along this, what I would say part idyllic, part not idyllic childhood, was just some really typical and then some not so typical trials along the way. I also learned the art of suppressing feelings along the way and putting those in the rearview mirror and just always looking forward. Because we don't talk about Bruno, right? Does anybody else have that kind of? Did anybody else see that movie and go, "Yeah, that's me. That's how I'm feeling"? So I graduated college and then I began my career as a behavior scientist. So I began climbing the corporate ladder. I got education. I went from job to job, position to position. And I started slowly along the way showing signs of my really bright sunflower beginning to wither. So, as you see on the left hand side of the screen, where the sunflower gets a little less bright. And it wasn't severe enough. So I was showing these early signs of not flourishing, but it really wasn't severe enough to make a huge impact on my life until 2013 when it all came crumbling down. I experienced a pretty severe health crisis, both physical and mental health challenges. And traditional medicine, who I would have, I bought into with my career, I would have gone, they would have stayed with them for the long haul. They actually didn't help, and at times really exacerbated the situation. I just began to spiral down, and I reached a point where I just didn't know how I was going to continue living this way. And I had moments in that of bright spots and learnings and things, but more and more, my life just became unmanageable. Then, through a series of very fortunate events, the first of which was meeting this incredible chiropractor, Dr. Lee Goldenberg. If you're out there today, I love you. I was introduced to holistic living. So I was discovering things like nutrition, alternative therapies, mindfulness, and I began to heal and just learn about all that was out there that I didn't grow up with, that I didn't know was available. And I became my own science experiment. I went back to school, got my doctorate of naturopathy, where I could just really dive in and learn, what is this whole natural health thing about? What is my body actually capable of doing? And as my own science experiment, I tried every health fad you can ever imagine. If it's out there, I've tried it. Every supplement, more than likely. It's very rare for me to hear of a supplement or a health fad that I didn't go, yeah, I spent a little time with that one. As my symptoms lessened, though, I began to have more energy and I could do more. And I began to kind of combine this career of behavior science, really understanding human behavior, with the holistic health principles. But even though my symptoms lessened and became what I would say healed in some areas, I realized that it didn't equal peace or flourishing. So I had started becoming a little brighter, but I still wouldn't have said I was where I wanted to be in life, where I remember those times of being a child and just running through the forest and the woods and just bright and laughing and joy, experiencing that kind of joy. It wasn't there yet. So I realized that it's not automatic. Flourishing is not automatic, even when you recover from something like a health crisis. So then I began to look at and kind of navigate through societal challenges. I started reevaluating my standard American diet. I started embracing practices that nurtured my body and mind and soul instead of taking away that energy. And then I continued my exploration, where I was understanding that flourishing really required me to dismantle a bit of these lifestyle choices, these habits, these societal norms that I had been participating in. And then I realized, thinking all along this journey, I'm going to have a destination. I'm going to flourish, and that's my destination. But then I realized there is no destination. And I hate to break it to you, it was one of the big things I had to repeat to our momentum cohort over and over again, that everybody said, no, there was no destination. This is life. Life is a continual, incremental increasing or decreasing of our human flourishing. And there's no ceiling on how bright we can be, on how happy we can be, on how much flourishing that we can have in our lives. And so, kind of like temperature, right? There's no temperature that can go on into infinity. So that's how it is with flourishing. So I began to integrate these principles that were supporting more joy and purpose and connection. And then I found my purpose. And that's why I'm here today. That's why I'm speaking to you today. That's what wakes me up in the morning. It's what drives my soul every single day, is that I long to just be a guide to inspire this societal shift towards prioritizing flourishing as a fundamental human right? And I realized it wasn't only for me. There were many others like me out there, and you may have resonated with some of my story as well. And you might be out there today thinking, wow, maybe there is more. Maybe there's something more that I don't know about. And that's why I'm here. My number one goal today is just to inspire a spark inside of your heart to ask the question, could there be more? Could there be more vitality? Is vitality all it's cracked up to be? Is flourishing all it's cracked up to be? I found some gems along the way that I'd like to share with you. I unfortunately, in an hour-long talk, cannot chart the path for you. So this little path through the forest you see here, that was my hard-earned fought path with a machete through a wilderness. What I do hope to do, though, is to tell you that, number one, the journey is worth it. Go on it. Continue on it. Keep fighting the fight. It's worth finding every bit of flourishing you can squeeze out of life. And that vitality is all that it's cracked up to be. So first I'd like to define when I say vitality, what does that mean? I'm guessing you took this class because vitality somewhat interests you. So I'd love for you to throw in the chat, what is it about vitality that interests you? What does it mean to you personally? As I give you the definition, I'd love to just you be thinking about your own version. Energetic. I love that, Angela. Growth. Yes, Darla. Continual growth. I love that. When I use the word vitality, what I'm talking about personally is this dynamic state. Oh, I love this. Living my favorite version of my life. You guys should know something about me. I would much rather connect with you face to face and in the chat than tell you what the knowledge that I have. But these are all amazing. The best use of me. I love that. Wow. So when I'm talking about vitality, I'm talking about this dynamic state of being full of life and energy. It's the result of harmonious integration. So we're integrating a harmonious balance of various components of flourishing. Vitality really emerges when these components of flourishing are really effectively combined and nurtured. And what creates is a vibrant and flourishing life full of vitality. So to explain the components of flourishing, I'd like to use the analogy earlier that compares to us to one of my favorite living beings, which I've already told you, given you an insight into, is our sunflower, right? So in this picture, you'll see kind of three scenes happening if you pay attention. Number one, you have the sunflower, which is your internal makeup. This is our DNA for thriving. Just like a plant's DNA, you have inherent qualities and potential that determine your unique ability to thrive in the environment that you're in. These intrinsic characteristics are what sets the foundation for your personal growth and development. And I will tell you, we've been told a lot that genetics are against us or that our DNA isn't working for us, and it's actually not true. You have something that goes beyond your genetic makeup. And this is the intrinsic human condition. You can call it your true self, if you will. It's that spark of consciousness that lives in all of us, that when it's present, when it's operating, when it's growing bigger and bigger, helps us to flourish in the best way that we can. So no matter what your ApoE genetics are, or whatever your MTHFR genetic mutations are, whatever nutrients you have a hard time absorbing, just know that just like we've seen with genetics, we can actually change our genetic proclivities through our lifestyle. You do already have the DNA set up for thriving yourself. Now, the next thing, oh, sorry, I forgot to click there we go. Okay, so your internal makeup. The next thing you'll see is your above ground external environment. So you see the rain cloud, you see the sun, there's even wind. And all of these represent all the external factors in our environment and experiences that shape your life. So this includes the way you were raised, the choices you've made along the way, and also the circumstances you've encountered. I should say that both the positive and the challenging experiences are contributing to your resilience and adaptability. So I'll give you a great example that I heard recently that it makes me think of the challenges I have in my own life. Scientists tried to create a biosphere where they could recreate living, let's say we wanted to go populate on Mars. So it was called Biosphere 2. What they realized a lot in this experiment, one of the things they realized in this experiment is that the trees would grow to a certain height and they would fall over and die. And they could only grow a certain height. And so what they realized from this is that they actually had to have the wind as they were growing, and they built resistance to keep them strong and rooted into the ground. So that wind would be kind of some of the challenges that we have. So no matter what our external environment, we're piecing these things together, the sun, the rain, the wind, all of those things that can, even the challenging ones, aid in our flourishing and our ability to adapt and be resilient. You then have your underground environment. So this would be what is the soil for our nutrients. The soil symbolizes the foundational support and resources that nourish your well-being. So this represents things like your relationships, your community, your support systems, and your everyday personal practices that you cultivate that determine the quality of your soil. And the quality of your soil influences your ability to flourish and to grow. Now, I will say we have little control over certain environmental factors, some things that happen to us. Being born at a table where there was sugar available for me to eat on my cereal, not necessarily in my control, right? Thank you, Mom. However, we can tend the soil to create a favorable environment where we can thrive. The next thing I want to point out is that flourishing doesn't just happen on its own. We have all the necessary DNA for it. We have all the things that we need to be able to flourish, but it doesn't happen. It's the result when intention is met with right action. So let me say that again. The result is intention met with right action. So when we have an intention to flourish and we find the right actions, that's where we hit the sweet spot when it comes to flourishing. I'm really bad at my slides, sorry. Oh, okay. There we go. Okay. So another analogy for this, because flourishing doesn't happen automatically, is to think about a potted plant versus a plant in the rainforest. So as you'll see on the left, our potted plant has nutrients. It needs added water. We need to water those plants. And I've learned that the hard way. Plants really like water, it turns out. And if you don't water them, they don't thrive. Just saying. Thanks for the advice. They also need access to sunlight. So some like more sunlight, some like less sunlight. My plants over here even like to be sun to occasionally, right? I think it actually helps them thrive a little bit more. Now, a plant in the rainforest on the right, it actually thrives naturally. So if you go deep into a rainforest, nobody's telling the plants what to do. Nobody's giving them water. Nobody's, giving them plant food. But we don't live in a society that is a rainforest, unfortunately. In our society, we're more like the potted plant than the rainforest plant. So just like our house plants, we have to create the conditions to thrive in our current situation. Now, I've definitely been one that rages against the machine and calls out the societal norms and does all those kooky things like not shave my underarms or legs and, just like tries to be this, I want to live in a place that is a rainforest. I've learned along the way that unless we're willing to really just move to a literal forest in Costa Rica where we don't have to worry about daily needs like food and money and take care of our families and things like that. Then moving to the rainforest environment is probably not likely, and I'm not sure it would give us what we wanted anyways. So knowing that, we really have to pay attention and actively create and nurture the conditions for our individual flourishing. So we have to add the necessary nutrients to our lives. We have to foster an environment. We have to create our own right conditions to thrive. Yes, Lindsay, I love that. We have to foster an environment that supports our well-being. When we intentionally introduce these components of flourishing, then we can achieve a state of vitality and thrive in whatever current environment that they're in. And I will tell you, I know some of you are in tough environments. I know some of you are in not ideal situations. You have pressures that are up to here, family responsibilities, work responsibilities, climbing the corporate ladder, doing these things that are necessary of you in the season of life that you're in. So I don't want to come here from this pie in the sky version and say, just create your environment. I know it's not that easy. What I'm saying is, I think you can start the journey, and with a little bit of help and a little bit of community along the way, I believe you'll be able to accomplish flourishing in any environment that we're in. Okay. So let's explore what the components of flourishing are. And this is really the bulk of the PRISM programming, is this, idea that I've come up with, where I realized the things in my own journey. Remember the sunflower journey? I realized that there is a foundational parameter system. So this isn't a one size fits all. Again, I cannot give you what you need to flourish. I really wish I could. I wish I could give you a 5-point plan to say, here is your Darla, here's your guide for flourishing. I can't do it. And I don't think it would be worth it if we did it. But I can give you some parameters, almost like bumpers, right? Is everybody trying to bowl without bumpers? It's a nightmare for me. So some bumpers that can keep you on the trail. But then you do have to be able to forge your own way through that. So this is it's a flexible guide. It's really meant to simplify our flourishing into 5 key areas. So the first area is play. So play encompasses both this mindset and the activities that keep our bodies moving in sustainable and enjoyable ways. When we add play into any of these other components as well, so you'll learn really quickly, the components aren't by themselves either. They're always in the context with each other. It's a very complicated, interconnected system, just like we are. So play being that foundational mindset of everything else we do. If you play, you actually learn a task, or if you're trying to, let's say, learn a language. If you incorporate play, you can actually learn it 40 times faster than if you were to not incorporate play. So we're meant to play. Where I look at every species on Earth, even ants, even any species that lives, and I think they're starting to realize that plants even have a little bit of play in them. So we all have play embedded into our growth, but also it's necessary for continual thriving. The R is relate. So this is our focusing on our interconnectedness, right? So starting with our self-awareness, right? So we have to have a lot of self-awareness. Some of the scariest places to go is to turn our attention and focus inward. It's worth it, but it's definitely scary. So starting with our self-awareness and then extending to our other relationships. When you saw that plant in the rainforest, when a plant is planted in the ground, they actually share nutrients with each other, even different species. It's amazing. There's a book called The Hidden Life of Trees, or The Secret Life of Trees. Hidden Life of Trees, I think. Read it. It will blow your mind about how interconnected we actually are through the mycelium network. So I is illuminate. So this involves the education. So we have to know what it is. We have to know how our bodies work. You know, I was a 35-year-old woman before I actually realized how my period and hormonal shifts worked. That's pretty crazy, right? Like, we would learn this in school, but we don't learn these things. So there is education to know, how do our bodies work? How does nature work? Then there's the contemplation. There's the thinking on these things. And then we have the integration. So this is integrating these key ideas, and they enhance our understanding of our lives, but they also set the foundation for all the other activities we might want to engage in. This is also the illuminate, to me, is also the thing that makes us just brighter as people. The stress reduction, the getting quiet, that contemplation is a really important part of just drowning out the noise of the world so that I can figure out what is the path that I need to be on right now. The S is sustain. So sustain covers all the inputs: food, water, air, and even finances, because really we have to buy this food and sometimes this water nowadays with our finances. So these are things that are vital for our daily functioning. Now, sustain is not just to sustain life. I saw food that way for a very long time. Sustain, satiate my hunger. I have to eat to live. So let me just eat this quick thing over here because it's something I have to do to be able to live. But we're actually tuning that a little bit. And this is about sustaining our flourishing. So we want to go above that. We want to sustain a vital lifestyle of a life full of vitality and energy. And then we have mend. Now the mend mechanism, it pertains to our repair mechanism. So this is our physical repair, psychological repair, helping us recover from disease. So this is where we would need to participate in modern medical system and say, hey, we need to fight disease. There's something that we need to repair in our bodies. Trauma, emotional trauma, physical trauma, injury, and just the everyday challenges of life. So knowing that these are all the components of flourishing, I'd like to hear from you a little bit about, just intuitively, when you see one of these areas, what's the area that you think, I need more of that in my life? And relate. Relate. Amazing. So as you see in the chat, everybody's answers aren't the same. So this is also meant to be a work on what is needed situation, right? So we're looking at, I think I have play down really well. I'm just a playful person. I love playing. I could probably move my body a little more than I do, but I love playing. However, I have some things to work on when it comes to mending. I have some things that I'm needing to mend right now. And I was just saying that to Glenda earlier. There's some areas in my life where I'm not flourishing. And I'm about to give this talk on flourishing and thinking, for a second, how do I do this if I'm not flourishing in all areas of my life? And she so wisely reminded me, that's not what it's about. None of us flourish in all areas of our life, right? And it was a quick reminder to me to go, oh yeah, that's right. If there's an area that I need to, for example, mend, that's a great thing for me to be focusing on. So for you to be able to focus on the things that you need to focus on to get there. So how do we get there? Now, again, I'm gonna say it one more time. I'm sorry, I can't tell you what the specific things for you to do in a 1-hour training. Even if it were more than a 1-hour training, I don't think I'd be able to do that. But I can tell you some parameters and kind of explain the basics of how it works. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is we want to weave these components into our daily living. So I don't want you to have, raise your hand if you feel like you live a busy lifestyle. Yeah, I don't imagine everybody feels a bit busy nowadays. So if I were to give you, hey, you need to go do this and this and this and this and this, would you probably want to punch me in the face? I might want to punch myself in the face if I were to give myself that advice, right? So what we try to do is we try to integrate with our work and our home responsibilities, these components into what we're already doing. So let's not go to the gym to work out, even though that's great. If that's your time away and that works for you, keep doing it. Please don't stop doing it. But if you're feeling this pressure to go to the gym to work out, there are easy ways that you can creatively seamlessly interweave these things into your everyday experience that you're already experiencing. So it's not something big you're having to go change and do. So just don't separate these away. You want to incorporate them into your existing routines. If for a behavior scientist geek term, it's called habit stacking. So habit stacking can help you more quickly form new habits because you're stacking things that you're already doing together. I'll give you an example of the blue zones too. The blue zones, I'm sure many of you heard of it. If you haven't, check out the book, but also there's a Netflix series. I think it's on Netflix, one of the streaming shows. It's called The Blue Zones. Check it out. It was very impactful for me. The people in the blue zones, they don't do these things outside of just the way they live, right? So for example, and let me explain what the blue zones are. The blue zones are the areas in the world where there are concentratedly higher numbers of centenarians, people that live above 100, and they actually live healthy into their 100s. So Okinawa, Japan is one of them. One of the things that I realized with Okinawa, Japan is that they all sit on the floor to eat. Even the 95-year-old sits on the floor to eat. So every day they have something that they're doing to get up and down to move their bodies. Me and my wife live in a place with a lot of stairs. And as I'm walking up the stairs and I'm complaining, I'm yelling blue zones because we have something built into our everyday environment that helps us continue to move our bodies. So I'll give you a few examples, and this is where I want you to start leveraging the tools at your disposal. So I used our friend AI to come up with, I explained PRISM to AI. I said, here's the PRISM model of flourishing. I want you to show me how I can habit stack and give me examples of how I can weave these things into my daily life. And I gave it the prompt of a woman who works a full-time job that has a family and responsibilities at home. So one of the, people that have a busier lifestyle. So what it came up with was under play, in your work, you can incorporate short, playful breaks into your workday, right? So example, keep a stress ball or a little small puzzle on your desk and use those during brief breaks instead of looking at your phone on Instagram. I'm guilty of it too. So use those little breaks and those little downtimes that you have to play. When you're at home, you can turn mundane tasks into fun activities. You play your favorite music while you're cooking and cleaning, or dance along to a song while you're doing these chores. For relate, it gave me some really interesting options, which was like for a work environment, schedule regular check-ins with colleagues that include personal catch-ups. So not just work talk, right? So every meeting doesn't necessarily have to be about work. And maybe some of you boss level ladies are going, wait a minute. Yes, it does. But what they've shown, what research has really shown, is that building relationships and it enhances collaboration among teams, right? So if you can get in there and you can really know your employees or know your coworkers that you're working with, not just about work, but a little bit deeper, then it enhances the workplace and it brings some relating in. We spend a lot more time at work often than even with our closest friends. So those people, we're missing an entire ability to relate to people in a work setting if we're segmenting it and seeing it as only work. At home, you can dedicate a few minutes each evening to connect with family members. So something that Glenda and I do occasionally that has really helped us is sometimes we have these question cards, and instead of watching a show at night, we watch our shows, don't worry, but instead of watching a show at night, occasionally we'll just play our question cards or we'll play a game of cards or something like that. So you can play a quick game together and replace kind of the mindless TV watching with real-time connecting. For Illuminate, you can start work meetings with a moment of gratitude or a positive affirmation. Now, it might feel a little kooky at first. I understand. I'm in this world of very kooky living. I do lots of affirmations, lots of meditations, lots of weird self-talk in the mirror. I mean, all kinds of things. So it might feel a little weird at first, but starting meetings with just that one little thing, right? Just that little thing. Hey, we're going to go around the room. We're going to talk about 3 things that we're excited about in our lives right now. Increasing gratitude in every moment you can, it sets a positive tone and it continues to boost morale. And at home, you can integrate learning into daily activities. So listen to educational podcasts or audiobooks while you're commuting or even doing household chores. And next for sustain, this one's a little bit harder, I will say, because you really do have to put a little bit more prep and effort into it. But keeping healthy snacks at your office, at your home, keeping the ones you want to avoid where you actually have to take an additional step to go get them, taking a quick walk around during your lunch break to get some fresh air, because remember, air is something sustain as well. And then for home, plan your family meals around balanced nutrition and involve everybody in the meal planning and the preparation. It actually ends up being a really fun thing when we cook as a community, right? So it doesn't even have to be your family, it can be your friends. We have amazing friend groups that we get together, we eat really healthy food, we share recipes. We're all actually going through Dr. Gundry's gut check health book right now to learn about our guts, and we're sharing all the different things. I go to Whole Foods and I pick up something for our friends, or they do it for us too. So to really bring community into, so this is just your lifestyle. So you're not having to, oh, I need to eat healthy, let me see what I need to do. If you do it in the context of community, it's quite a bit easier. And then men. One of the men things that I thought was really cool was just the girl meditating at her desk, right? I don't know if you have an office where you can do that, but take a few minutes, even if it's in the bathroom stall where you just put your headphones on. It just takes 2 minutes of a deep breath, box breathing, all kinds of research. There's Headspace is an incredible app. There's technology to really support you in this process. While you're brushing your teeth, do some deep belly breathing. Right? So you're stacking habits on each other, making it easier and not having to go, okay, this is my time to go meditate. And then at night, create a relaxing bedtime routine instead of, trying to limit screen time before you go to bed. So I'd love to hear examples of your own life of how you might accomplish this in your daily life. So give me all your creative juices right now. Cheat and use ChatGPT. I don't care. It doesn't have to be original to you. I want to hear. Let me hear some of what things do you do every day that you can add in something? And what would that one thing for you be, right? So you answered earlier, you need more mend in your life. You need more relate in your life. You need more play. What are some things you can personally do? Lindsay, podcast on your commute. Lindsay, what would those podcasts be? What category would those podcasts be in right now? Not the exact podcast, but like what are you needing more in your life right now? Glenda does push-ups in the bathroom after a shower. Woo, get those muscles, girl. Include more interactions in others or in your daily cooking or exercising. I love that. Stretching at your desk. Yes. Lindsay's listening to Normal Women. Ooh, that sounds amazing. Get you some empowerment. That's illuminate. Play
One thing
and
that I've always done, and part of it is ADHD training of how to stay focused on things. I cannot just stand there and, like you said, just brush my teeth. That is, for some reason, that just gets on my nerves. It's just so mundane just to stand there. So I will do exercises while I'm brushing my teeth, while I'm drying my hair.
love that.
I always try to include movement in my day already. I do like what you were saying, though, trying to pull in more mend. And here at Momentum, we teach the breathing. So when you said, can you do that? I said, actually, we can do all that here at our desk. I know not everyone can, but doing it at home. And even like you said, going outside, taking your breaks during the day and going even in the restroom, just doing your breathing or walking to and from, meetings, taking a moment to do that. We've learned that from a lot of our participants from our different cohorts and their busy lives.
I love that. Because we all do lead busy lives in our own way. So dance while listening to music during breaks. I love that. Oh, I love this. Ask questions to understand people better. Guys, I'm telling you, technology and just the advent, if you just look up question card games, you can have a card deck of questions to ask people. And you go through the deck and you think, I'm going to ask this person this today. And use your prompts, use the things at your disposal. We don't have to just come up with these in a silo on our own and figure out this all by ourselves. I had to do that. And that's part of the reason why I'm here today. Part of the reason why I want to give you some of these things, because I was in the wilderness where nobody was doing this. Nobody was talking about gut health. Nobody was talking about how mental health was actually tied to our hormonal system and to the daily activities or the lack of mindfulness that we had in our lives. Walking with colleagues around the building during our 15-minute breaks. Oh, I love that. That's amazing. Okay, so the next tip I'm going to give you is to combine the components for efficiency, right? So you want to stack things on what you're already doing, but then we also want to combine as many components as we can into one task, right? So we have P plus R plus I plus S plus M equals vitality. So you want to maximize your time. This is also helping to maximize your time by combining as many of the elements into one activity as you can. In this approach, it helps you to integrate wellness into your daily life seamlessly, and it also gives you the most bang for your buck, your time, your investment, your energy. Bang for your energy is really what we're going for here. So let me give you just a couple of examples of ways in an environment that we can bring a little bit more things into our life. So here you have a work setting. It would be a little bit crazy maybe for some of you to have an office like this, but can you imagine having bouncy balls that people sit on, stress balls as they're talking, fidget spinners, things that they can use with their hands, little mini treadmills, and those actually exist now. My sister has one. She has a mini, it's like this big, tiny little treadmill where she can do her walking. So incorporating even into business meetings. Now, I wouldn't recommend necessarily standing on the table like this lady is doing, but who knows, maybe she's doing a box jump on a table if the table's sturdy enough for that. So bring more play and all these various things that are good for our bodies into an environment where it seems a bit like it couldn't happen, right? So here, they're playing, they're relating, they're connecting with each other, they're learning, they're illuminating. They're sustaining their body, sustaining with looks like clean air, and nice air conditioning, because it's hard to sustain in this heat right now. And then we have another one here here's another easy one, right? So going on a walk with a friend. So instead of going on that treadmill at the gym by yourself with your headphones in, find a friend, go on a walk, and then add other components in there. So you're playing, you're enjoying the physical activity. Go walk at a place that's pretty, that's fun. One of my favorite places to walk with Glenda is City Walk, where you walk around the playground and just being around children playing. They even have adult seesaws. Go get on the adult seesaws. Walk around somewhere where you can really enjoy the collective effervescence of the physical activity. And then while you're walking, connect and converse with your friend. You're benefiting from the exercise and the fresh air that you're getting, especially if you're walking on the Rotary Trail when you're under trees and getting that nice oxygen from trees. And then take an additional component and then read a book that has to do with men, right? So a book like, there's so many books that have to do with men, a book all about how to explore your feelings, explore and name complex feelings, or radical intimacy, or some book like this. So you're sharing and you're discussing your ideas. So everything is really intentional. You're not just going on a walk to go on a walk. You're now going on a walk. You're intentionally connecting and deepening a relationship with a friend. You're drinking really good water and getting fresh air. You're sharing and discussing something that's really applicable to your life right now that increases your capability to mend yourself. There are so many different things you can do in this category. And I'd love to hear some of yours, because we only have about 15, 20 minutes left. So I'd love to continue to get more feedback from you. What are creative combinations you can use? I will tell you one that I came up with that was super fun, which is taking meetings while walking. Now, for those of you that are note takers, there is technology now that are AI note-taking tools. Bug your boss till they get you one. I need an AI note-taking tool where it'll listen to the entire conversation. I believe Zoom even has this now. It's an AI integration that takes notes on everything you've talked about, highlights the important points for you so you're not having to take notes. So use AI, use these tools, and reduce your stress by managing your workload, right? So managing your workload using technology in every aspect that we can. And I think that's the sweet spot of technology. When technology allows us to not just get busier and put more on our plate, but where technology allows us to seamlessly integrate these combinations of the components of flourishing. Walking meetings are great. Me and Darla have one next Monday. Yeah.
I've got to share some really quick. Jenny took all of us to the playground. And we got on the seesaws and the swings, and we played with the little sticky things on the tape, where you create shapes, and we're creative. We had such a good time. And I've got to thank you, Jenny. I mean, like didn't we even roll down a hill or somebody?
A little
we just had
such
such a good,
yeah.
It was fun, and it was stuff that you normally don't do. And that was, I remember when I was teaching children, we would teach them with songs and movement, so they would learn the words, or the activity would stick with them. And as adults, we stopped doing that. And so thank you for reintroducing us to bringing music. Music will still help you learn. And also just the walking meetings. I actually have found that when I do that with people and we have a walking meeting, we get so much accomplished, and we actually remember it better, and we're thinking fresher. So I highly recommend that.
I won't bore you with it, but there's amazing science behind that. Google it. Awesome. Okay, so then the last tip that I'm going to give you, and then we can get into any questions that you have, any comments or anything. I'd love to hear, is to start small and build over time. So if you try to do all of these components at once and change your entire lifestyle, you're going to, number one, overwhelm yourself. Number two, you're going to sabotage yourself, and I'll explain why in a minute. And then number three, it's not going to work. And then you're going to feel so much frustration and why can't I get it together? Self-shame, judging yourself. I really wanted to make these changes and I couldn't do it. So there's a thing called compounded motivation. So if anybody understands the concept of compounded interest, right? You put a little bit of money, the interest compounds over time, and after 10 years, you have a lot of money. The same thing works for motivation in the brain. It has to do with dopamine. It has to do with what makes us feel motivated to complete a task. So when we use motivation from small successes, and I'm telling you, tiny, tiny successes, If you're one of those people, and I've been there and I'm occasionally there still myself, it's like, I don't even have the motivation to go and walk with a friend. Okay, break it down even further. Put your tennis shoes on. Don't go anywhere. Just put your tennis shoes on every day at the same time. Don't go sit down and watch TV, scroll on Instagram, do the thing that you normally do. Put your tennis shoes on and sit and do what you normally do. What you're doing is you're using that motivation, because once you do that, you'll be motivated to do more and even more and add more to your plate. It's like a snowball effect. So when you're focusing on the areas that you need the most first, which I'll explain to you guys. We actually created a flourishing quiz. I'd love to email anybody that's interested to show you which of the areas of PRISM that you're lacking in right now. But what this does is we have this thing called a happiness ceiling in our brain. And it's also called the fear of the unknown. Our lizard brain has it. It's actually really good that we have this, because in the jungle with tigers, you don't know food, don't eat it. Right? So there's a fear, there's an innate fear that's in our biology of the unknown. So knowing that our brains work like this, and we've evolved much more quickly in our environmental changes than we have in our actual body evolution. So there's still a lot of lizard brain, is what they call it, things working against us. So, but when you know these, you can support yourself in the right way, and you can actually hack these to get what you're wanting out of this. So knowing that, even if something is good for you, if it is unknown, there's a place in your brain going, whoa, 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 no, too much. And especially if it's a big unknown, if it's a big change at one time. So use small but sustainable changes. Pick the one thing that you can do until that one thing becomes a habit. I'm telling you, it's amazing how it just works like clockwork every time. If there's a task that you're wanting to accomplish, pare it down to the very, very smallest minute thing you can do, even just journaling about it. Make that your new habit, and then add another small change, and then add another small change. And this ends up becoming a snowballing, compounding effect over time. And again, there's no limit, right? There's no achieving flourishing and you're there. It can always get better. So my level of flourishing is immensely higher than my level of flourishing as it was before. But I'm going for something else too. I'm never stopping until the day that I die. And even after that, we don't know what happens. There's probably even more. So I'd love to hear from you. Any questions that you have? I'd also love to know just what is one small change you can start with today that can enhance your journey, that can either get you going on the journey, that can refresh your journey a little bit. I'd love to hear what you took away from it and the small change that you can make today. Blue zone stacking. I love that. Get more specific with me, Darla. What's one thing you can stack on something you're already doing that makes your life a little bit blue zone? Ooh, 9 p.m. bedtime, Andrea.
So for me, the movement and making sure I kind of have to go out of my way in order to be more healthy. And I like what you were talking about, the blue zone. Even just as a thing, like you said, of them sitting on the floor and they have to move to get up, making sure that every day I am going to be more mindful that all the little things that I'm doing make them more exercisey, I guess you could say, to where I'm incorporating more movement into my day instead because we sit at a desk all day in front of a computer. So getting up more, we encourage that around here, get up and walk around the building more. And let that be the time when I check my emails on my phone while I'm walking.
I love that. That's amazing. So Wendy, you said you need to push yourself for social interaction at home and at work. So pare it down even a little bit further. What's that thing you can do that's even smaller than just a very general social interaction at home and work? It could be something like text a friend every day, right? Or meet a new coworker. So just make sure you want to keep them very specific. Your behavior change that you're making, the things that you're going to start habit stacking, the things, be really specific about it. And know that you're on this amazing journey that you're going to continue to be on. It doesn't help to shame yourself. Don't shame, nobody shame yourself. It didn't help me when I did it. It doesn't help me either. So Carol, I'd love to hear how you're going to be more intentional about movement during your day. So be thinking on that. You might not have an answer right now, but go to, I'm telling you, there's a free version of ChatGPT. If y'all haven't played around with it yet, please go play around with it. It's amazing. The pro version's even better. And ask it like, hey, how can I add more men into my life? This is my life setup. These are things I'm struggling with. What's something that I can do? And of course, when needed, seek out professional help. I think that's one of the most amazing things that we have at our disposal right now is we have access to plenty of coaches, therapists, practitioners that can really help you on your specific journey. So if your specific journey is on men, then be looking into what for my situation, what are the therapies that are effective? Who can I reach out to support me in this area? Oh my gosh, I love the one, Hallie, that says watch dance videos to learn how to dance. I've actually been wanting to do that. I think that would be super fun. Make some question flashcards. I love that. And I thought it was Andrea, but I see now that it's actually April behind that screen. Definitely more play. It's your biggest challenge. Play with the dog, do a dance break. I love the all by yourself. Now, if you visit the Momentum office, they have a little button you can push at any moment where you push that button and your dance party starts. I love that, Karen, about bringing connections to your solitude. Writing gratitude to other people each morning. That's an incredible, incredible practice. Gratitude, you can't get too much gratitude in your life. Science has been super clear. Even just 3 things at night before you go to bed can actually reduce symptoms of depression by 60%. 3 things that you're grateful for every night in a journal.
One thing I started doing was putting them on, I would record them on my phone in my notes. And I keep a going list of, things I'm grateful for each day. And some days it was just like being able to smell the beautiful flowers. That was back in the spring, or smell the rain. Things like that we just take for granted, a lot of things that we have. And so learning to be grateful for what we do have makes us a lot more, it helps me to flourish better.
Yeah. I love that. Karen, I love what you wrote too about fear being an obstacle for you. So journaling and looking for what the fear is teaching you instead of being angry at yourself. That's an incredible, incredible thought.
Yes, it is.
Add arm weightlifting before using the foam roller. Yes. I love that. Well, you guys have been amazing and fantastic. And again, I consider it such an honor to go on this journey with you and to be a participant in your journey. And hopefully just give you a few tips along the way that can help you spark or increase your own flourishing.
Thank you so much, Jenny. I thank y'all all for everything you put in the chat. And Jenny, thank you for sharing with us today just a little bit about what you're doing. If you want to know more about Jenny and what she is doing here with PRISM and want to get in touch with her, what's the best way we can do that, Jenny?
You know what? I'll put my contact info in the
Okay.
chat right now.
Thank you.
I do have a website. I will say website is not my strong suit when it comes to this. And we do have some fun projects coming up that we're working on. Just imagine, I'll pique your interest just a little bit. Imagine a place you could go to PRISM.
I like that.
I'll leave you with that.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. We look forward to seeing y'all next month, not next week, but next month. And we will be sending out information on everything that's coming up. Jenny, thank you again for today. We've learned a lot, and I appreciate how everyone can do this so simply. I don't know if that's a word that's like exercisey, but you've made it to where we can incorporate into our lives better mental, physical, and emotional health. That way we can be better leaders out in our community and at home. And we appreciate you taking time out of your day to share all this with us. Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Momentum's virtual trainings are made possible with the support of Protective Life, Blue Cross Blue Shield of Alabama, and America's Thrift. Find the full list of sponsors as well as additional resources for women leaders on our website at momentumleaders.org. Thanks for taking the time to invest in you, and remember to like, subscribe, and share our channel. We love reading thoughts and comments, so you can leave those for us here too. You can also connect with us on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn by searching at Momentum Leaders.